Hey dazzling young wife, it's a beautiful day today. It is a great day and I'm excited like never before. I'm so glad to have online today my dazzling young husband. My sweetheart of many years, my friend, my Tiriri Tara, the one that makes me giggle, chuckle. It's so nice to have him here today. I've been thinking for a while. I've been wanting to bring a gentleman here that can peep into our world and give us a feel of what it's like to be married to a dazzling young wife. And I thought, why not, if I'm going to bring anybody here to talk to us, it has to be my guy, right? My personal person.
Your G.
My G of many years. This guy is a strong man. Because if you know me, you know that I'm a handful. Yeah. But he handles it with so much grace, so much poise, so much swag and all that. And it's such a privilege to have you here today. Thank you for honoring this invite. So I'm just going to hit the floor running immediately because we're on the countdown of time. So the question for you today, my dazzling young husband, is what is it like for you, or what has it been like for you to be married to a young woman who has never been married before and who is still finding our way through life? What were the challenges for you, and how have you been able to make a good story out of it?
All right, I'm going to start out by saying, and I'm
Are you blushing?
I am actually. Start out by saying a big thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone that has been faithful, to this channel of joining the dazzling young wife, always consistently. Super, super glad and excited to have you there. All right, so it's both sides, because the dazzling young husband also has never been married before, and of course we both got married in our 20s, so that means that we're both naive, unsure and uncertain of quite a number of things, how the journey was going to be. Before I got married, I've kind of like, okay, so I'm the last born in the family of 8 siblings, so I've had the privilege of understudying my elder ones, and typically all of them got married before, we did. And so I've had cause to understudy their homes. I've had cause to live with, I think about 2 or 3 of them at different times, after school, during summer, and things like that. And I'd kind of like deliberately study their home. So I go to some of their homes and I'm looking at their family, looking at how the husband is relating with any of my sisters, looking at how they are raising their kids. And it's kind of like I'm keeping a mental score to say that, this is beautiful. I would like to emulate this by the time I get married. Or, oh no, this is 100% no. I can't replicate this by the time I get home. So, but, with that, that being the case, it still was not enough, because when you see something, of course, I also had cause to read a couple of books, but when you now get into it in terms of
the
reality, being the one in the shoes, it's still quite a lot that you have to juggle and work with. So it was quite a lot of work, and it's still, of course, we're still work in progress.
Are you saying I'm a handful? Is that what you're saying? I thought everything, I thought I'm 100% like, on flick, everything is going on well. Now we are now in front of camera, you're now saying that there's a lot of work. Tell me, what's the work?
We are both work in progress.
Yes, we are.
You know, so, and we keep getting better, you know, as we go on, you know, so I think that's a good way to start out.
For me, the question is, and I think it's a question of a lot of young married people, is to say that, are you always consistently in love? Do you always like what you see? Or do you have your down times? Are there down times? Because, you know, they say that women are the emotional ones, right? We are the ones with the highs and the lows. We are the one with feelings. Men are not that emotional. I don't know whether it is true or no. Maybe you want to attest to that fact. So for us women, when we are feeling good, everything is good. When we are not feeling good, everything is annoying us. Is it the same for you, or you've always had perpetual highs? Have you always been in love with this dazzling young wife? Or you've had your moments with her where you just want to give her a size?
You know, first off, every being is emotional. Every being, even God is emotional.
Yeah.
You know, and definitely everything that God created is even animals are emotional.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a pet, if you have a dog at home, you know that, you know, animals too can be emotional. So definitely men are also emotional, highly emotional. In actual fact, I of course, beg to argue the fact that men are actually more emotional than women. It's just that men have, by nature, by upbringing, by societal effect, have been accustomed towards kind of like suppressing and I don't want to use the word suppress, shielding, you know, finding various things to shield that emotion, you know, and find various ways through which we kind of like find how to express it, you know, other than the way that an average woman, you know, is going to do that. So now coming back to the question of course not. There have been. I'm
disappointed. Oh, you broke my heart.
You know,
I thought you've.
You know, I've always been, you know, pretty, you know, high. But of course, there are moments and there are times when, you know, situations of life, you know, and even things happen that you have to question. Shall we know what they do like this? As in, for those that don't understand as in, do we know what we are doing? As in, are we joking here or something? As in, you know, there are times when things happen, life happens, that I'm wondering, hey, is there a one chance moment? As in, have I entered this, you know? And because I need to also put that out to say that for younger couples, you know, and is interesting saying younger couples, because we're still young ourselves, but at least to the glory of God, our marriage is now a teenager, you know. So, but to those that are younger than us, is to say that there will be times like that, you know, because what is projected is such that happily ever after, you know, where it's going to be, you know, moment of love, moment of beauty, but life is going to happen, as in it is expected for everyone. Life will happen. And so when life happens, it is now what we do that determines how we're able to sustain that moment of love that we share.
So as a rider to that, I want us to talk about practical terms, like practicalities of how to handle such moments. So for you as a person, you are a pastor, I believe. For you as a person,
I think so.
Really?
Yes.
I think so too. That's because I didn't marry a pastor, right? Well,
yes.
Yeah, we thank God. We are honored to be instruments in the hands of the Lord.
I'm still Somi Bobo.
I know, always.
Remain Somi Bobo.
Somi Bobo of the Most High God.
Hallelujah.
Amen. So actually my question is this, right? It is that how do you practical expressions or practicalities of how you navigate such moments? So I, as a woman, when I'm having a downtime and I'm beginning to question my choices based on situations or actions, there are ways we women handle that. How do you as a man handle such ways? What's usually the comeback for you? Are you proactive to do something about it, or you'd rather have an action to be done from your spouse, myself being that,
So,
to do something about it?
And of course, to those that know me, I'm not a spooky person. I'm not, but it is what it is. So I'm going to speak from my personal perspective. My default mood when I find myself in moments like that, because again, for an average man, most especially to those of us that are kind of like, that are Christians, born again Christians, you know, that are tilted more in that line, I think that's a little bit of place where we've not been able to kind of like master enough in terms of having other godly friends, you know, through which we can have such kind of conversations with, you know, because if you have that kind of conversation with someone who is not godly, who does not really have your back, then it becomes a different kind of, you know, ball game. So for me now, I find a way to take it in and take it to God in prayers. And I'm not saying this because I'm a pastor, and I'm saying this because I'm a Christian. I'm saying this because it is what makes sense. I'm saying this because I've come to understand that the source of a thing is the one that has the capacity to sustain the thing. So if God is the source of the institution that is called marriage, it naturally makes sense to talk to him when you have issues in it, if you get what I mean. And so that's kind of like my default setting, where I talk to God, you know, about it, and then I begin to find solace in him, you know, as against probably maybe women, just like you said, you know, you could have friends that you can share things like that with, and then we go ahead and pray with you and all of that. Folks that are not Christians, you know, they meet in the club and then they throw conversations like that open and say, oh, as in, see what my babe do, see what my wife do, you know, and then they go on that tangent, you know. So, but for me, when younger in marriage, I actually didn't really have that kind of, you know, friend. At some point, I later have a friend, Taiwo Oriz, you know, that we share deep things like that together, and then we pray, you know, and that's what I'm talking about. So if you are fortunate enough to be able to have godly friends like that, as brothers, that you can pray together, you know, hold your back, it's going to help a great deal. And then because it is from there, if I'm to come up with, start giving instances and giving solutions to those instances, it might not be applicable to you. But when you go back to the person that gave you the manuscript of how you're building your home, it will give you a custom-made approach or solution to whatever it is that you're going through whenever you hit that rock bottom. Because every one of us does. So
from what I gather from what you're saying now, the approach to getting out of a place of not feeling like you're in love again or questioning your choices is to pray and talk to godly friends.
That's my own approach. Okay. You know. So it's from there that I now begin to look at, so what are the steps, what are the things that I now have to do? It is taking care of that foundation first for me. So after I take care of that foundation, it's on that I'm now able to say, let's sit down and have conversation. If it is having conversation that is going to work, or it is from there that I now take dressing. Okay, so a quick case in point. I was working back home in Africa. I was working in the oil and gas. I had an extremely busy schedule. Literally everybody that was in my circle knew that I was a very, very busy person. And then, of course, we never had help. So it was just the two of us with the kids, and we're living in a 5-bedroom duplex, And so I saw that my wife was becoming cranky, at some point, and I'm not even sure that we had a conversation. I think I just kind of like knew, okay, it wasn't as if we had a conversation about it, but she made mention of it, and because I had prayed about it, I was able to know that that was the problem. So the moment I get home, I roll up my sleeve, I get it. I'm not the type that is natural because of my upbringing. I'm not given to ask chores, and stuff like that. So I get home, I finish management meeting, I rush back home. I have to get into the kitchen and start doing dishes, while she's cooking,
It was more of laundry, actually.
Then I did laundry, but at some point I was doing the dishes.
So it's
I did dishes
on national television.
I remember. I would roll up my sleeve.
I think it was the laundry. You used to help from outside. You would bring in the clothes from outside.
But I was doing dishes also.
Jesus,
I was washing plates.
Yeah,
so
what you were helping.
What I noticed at that time was that a whole lot of things started changing. Life started coming, light started coming. So when I get home, remember, and then I do the laundry, and then I do dishes. Then gist started coming. The atmosphere became
lighter.
Yes, lighter. But all of that started from that basis.
From getting engaged, actually.
Yes.
And I think it matters to us women a lot that our men be engaged in our activities. I know that most times for families, there are roles that are separated. So you're doing this, I'm doing that. But no matter what you are doing, especially the love language of your spouse is acts of service. If you buy a gift from now till tomorrow, if you are not engaging and helping with service, it is just doing the wrong thing for the wrong purpose. It still does not get the job done.
Yeah.
So for me, acts of service is a big deal for me. I like people helping out when I'm doing something. It means a lot to me. Gifts, yes, but it's not like a strong thing for me. No, it's not.
Quality time.
Quality time 100%. And acts of service.
So let me quickly tell you one thing that happened. There was a year, I think, we were still newly married, maybe about 3.
Is that story about the birthday?
Maybe about 3-4 years into marriage. I think our marriage was kind of like still way younger. And I was still trying to understand all this concept of the 5 love language, and all of that. And so it was a birthday, and I was kind of like trying to look for something to buy. So I went out with someone trying to look for the gift, to buy. When, as at that time, I had not come to understand that quality time is much more important to her than gift. So I left work late. We went to the mall looking for a gift to buy. I got home late with the gift. In actual fact, I think she eventually gave the gift out to somebody.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful.
Let me tell you the time you came back. You came back at 9 p.m. It was a birthday that started since morning up until 9 p.m. at night. What is the birthday still left?
So
it's gift. Should I tell the gift?
By the time, don't tell the gift. No.
Let me tell the gift.
It was an expensive gift. I spent No, you see, a lot of people might not understand the gift, but I spent money.
Which money?
Don't tell the gift. But it was an ad-end money that I spent to buy that gift. But don't tell the gift.
How can you spend so much money? I'll not look like I'm ungrateful.
No, you are grateful. I'm giving you the grateful. I'm giving you a grateful.
Actually, so I think the deal here is that knowing your spouse, and I think this is just to normalize the issues that we have in families. Sometimes we think it's a big deal.
Yes, and it's
actually a big deal at that time, but it's also a discovery moment, right? You getting to know your spouse, because after that incident, it never happened again.
Yes, because it was easier for me. Shebi it's time that she wants. I will give her my time. Then I will cancel gifts. So why will I go and spend money to be buying gifts when is me.
But
I will just come and sit down
and I will tell the truth now.
Don't tell
I will tell you, since you want to tell a story.
Shebi is that we are together and spend time.
It was it got me
No, but it was 9
p.m.
It was a special one.
I've seen shaking on my back.
But it was a special one.
Was that walking around with somebody?
It was a special one. It was a special one.
That time with that. So, really,
it was a special Ankara. It was not a typical something. Isha has one special name, and he has different. It was big money that I used to buy that.
God bless the money.
You know, there's Ankara and there's Ankara. I'm sure you know, right? No, I just want you to know. Let me shalaye. So that they will know that it's not that type of Ankara. It's the other type of Ankara.
But really, it's just to say that we all have our moments, right?
Yes.
And that sometimes a young man is trying to understand how to love his young wife. And the young wife has expectations of how she expects to be loved. But it takes errors and omissions. So sometimes, as we default here, and we'll learn from it.
True.
Eventually to make it work. So don't take for granted your learning moments, because eventually it helps you to understand each other better. Finally, because if we don't talk about this, they will not forgive us.
Okay.
How do you handle a wife who does not like doing the do?
Oh my God.
How do you handle? You have to make it brief, because on this our platform, time up.
How will I make this thing brief? Because, okay, so, you know the way it is for, okay, so for a man.
Don't mess me in front of the camera.
A man that wants to do the do, and then the woman is saying, and coming up with various
I'll just tell you what the reason is. At night, when I've eaten, I'll say, I just finished eating. I went with my tummy that is full. How can you put it on inside me? It cannot work. In the morning, I'll say, when people is just waking up early in the morning.
My eyes are seeing shade. In the land of living.
But I've changed now.
You have changed. No, she has changed. No, she has changed. Go on. No, she has changed. But before that change happened, if you know when they say, if not for the Lord that was on our side, what will what will he have said?
Well,
that was the case. So, okay, so but really, number one is the fact that but you see, the way I want to be speaking this English, it was not a function of English as at the time where it was happening. So, but I will have to still speak English. So on the first off is the fact that I had to come to it got to some point. Akukuma said, this thing, maybe there are some people that are doing celibacy that
but we committed. Have 3 children.
Okay. There are some people have said they will just commit this thing into the hands of God. There was a time I was almost getting close to that point.
Was it that bad?
To say that, let me just give it to the Lord and just commit my soul to the work of ministry and serving humanity. But on a serious note, it has to come with the case and the point where you have to understand your spouse. So, and understand their expectations. Now, this English that I'm speaking, it comes with work. Because for you to understand your spouse and understand their expectation, it requires time. It requires practicality. You see, understanding your spouse is not English. It's not, you don't talk it. It's action. So today, they said that they've eaten, that they are full. So what that means is that day you have 0. So tomorrow you now set the time that they've not eaten yet, and you quickly make things and say, oh yeah, and then they will now say, I'm hungry, as in how can I do this thing how can I do when I'm hungry? You now begin to try to figure it out in your brain that, so how can I manage that situation to say that instead of her eating full meal, let her probably look for a snack or something that will satisfy the hunger a little bit, and then you can do and then you now go and eat. You know, all of these things that I'm talking about, it requires tact and work and experience, because while all of this is going on, it is well. So it requires a level of patience, you know, that both of us have to give to it, and understanding, you know, that both of us also have to give to it. And I should also say this, that for some of us, it will require, I don't want to say time, it will require level of maturity, you know, on both sides. It's given that men are more predisposed to doing the do than women. Of course, the reverse could be the case in some. Yes, there are some exceptional cases that is the women, you know, that I think I've seen in skits that, you know, after the couple, after they did the first one, they did the second one, they did the third one. So the man ran out of the house and the woman started chasing him. Just one more.
That has to be a skit.
You know, yeah. You know, so for us as men, we have to come to that point and to that place of understanding. Now, the second part to it is now that whenever we now have the opportunity, the onus is on us to ensure that we deliver. Because our inability to deliver is a precursor
to the next one
for failure of the next do. That because if we don't deliver on the present do, the next do is cancelled. As in, so it got to a time I'll be doing the do, it is with tongues and with prayer that God help me to deliver, help me to get to the promised land. You see, because if you don't get to the promised land, if you don't deliver, you know, if you are not able to deliver, the next do is forget, is cancelled.
Okay, we'll talk about this some other time.
We'll talk about
yes, we'll talk about this some other time. We're going to end this conversation now, and we'll continue this conversation, because when we get to this subject, it's biased.
It is well.
It is biased.
And so please, men. Sorry. So please, men. The act itself of doing the do is not where the work really is for us as men. The act of doing the do are the several other things that we have to do before we now eventually do the do. Of preparing them, getting them ready emotionally, psychologically, taking care of the children, a lot of things that we have to do before we eventually do the do. When we now start doing the do, we now have to start praying alongside. Sorry, it's prayer that I know. Whatever it is that you know that you have to do to make sure that you see, the delivery is important. If we deliver and they don't deliver, forget to do the do, cancel. So you have to make sure that, however, and that's part of where the understanding and communication comes into place. You have to make sure it is paramount that whatever it will take, if you should go and release when she has not released,
Pastor, sorry.
Okay, make sure she releases. So that is, because we found out that there are a lot of women in homes, in marriages, that don't actually, they just act. They don't get there. We don't take them there. If they don't get there, I've also suffered this thing. So the moment I now understand the modus operandi of taking them there, oh my God. Do you know that it's possible? Do you know that women, if you take them there, unlike us, that when we get there, we have gotten there, women don't even get there at once. In addition to what I was saying, we found out that a lot of men, born again, Christian, Bible-believing men, that because the process of waiting, the process of when being deprived is a lot on a man.
Right.
So and so an average, you see men that have to go into masturbation, men that have to go into secret promiscuity, that have to go and look for. Why do you? Of course, I'm not excusing. These things are sin, not right to be done, but there are times when women have literally have to push their husbands out to go and look for side chicks, to go and look for girls.
Why can't a man have self-control? Why can't a man have self-control?
That's what I'm saying.
It's a fruit of the spirit.
I agree. But you see, you said it is a fruit of the spirit. It is not the same day that the seed is sown that the tree grows and begins to bear fruit. It is a process for a man. When that man is going through that process, a man that just gave his life to Christ, that was on the streets before, through the help of the Holy Spirit, he got to church, he gave his life to Christ, now he's married, now he has a wife, now the wife is depriving him. One of the default setting. That's why some men, instead of them to go back on the street to go and look for a babe, to sleep with, they will now resort into masturbation, just to be able to find a way to find a release, and all of this, sincerely, it is a sin, is wrong. I'm not encouraging it, but it will be wrong for us to say that it's not existing and it's not happening, because it is. Now, so the plea that I want to beg is that please, how are you going to help us? Please don't be stingy with this thing.
This is not dazzling men. This is not dazzling men.
It has become young wives. This has become dazzling young men.
They've taken over.
It has become dazzling young men.
Let me answer. Let me answer.
Stinginess is too much.
But I'm not stingy now.
Just consider us.
The way you're talking, I'm not stingy.
When you are coming and body is doing like this, don't say the children are outside though. Don't say the light is on. Just give us. Just give us.
Yes, we will give you. The thing is that,
give us.
so let me speak for women.
Oh yeah,
and probably this is a conversation that will go on later.
Yes.
But let me speak for, because we cannot end this conversation on this note. It cannot be 1-0.
He's on my knees on behalf of all the dazzling young men.
So the thing is,
give us the duty.
For like you said,
yes,
we need our men also. When a young woman gets married, especially a woman who is not very experienced, right? Sometimes the way the man treats the woman's body is not as expected. Unfortunately, and I'm not speaking for everybody, because there are some women who are coming from the streets who have been handled rough and they want it rough, and that's where communication comes in. I think sometimes we underrate the importance of communication in sex. Sometimes we think sex is sex, communication is communication. Communication is the lifeblood of sex itself. Because sometimes a man assumes how a woman wants it. A man assumes that you squeeze her breast. You squeeze it. You saw everything has to be hard. And that sometimes that you bang, it is in the it's a woman's body.
Bang from the back.
I did not say that. Sometimes a woman's body is sensitive. A woman's body is sensitive to touch. So the ability to give love and make love, when overdone, also gives pain. And I'll give you a lot of feedback, dazzling young men. It's that most of our women experience pain when they are having sex. Because if the pain part is removed, why would anybody run away from pleasure? It is a natural human instinct to respond to pleasure.
So how do we remove the pain?
It is it is to remove the ego parts. It is to remove the ego, for a man to be willing in that place, not to assume that he's king con king. He's man of the action and he knows how to do it, he knows how to give it to her. If I'm the one receiving it, I tell you how it will be pleasurable to me. So eventually it now becomes very bad and worse. When at the end of the day you get your pleasure, you release and then you move on. And here I am, I feel used, I feel pained. 3 days after, my parts are still sore, my nipples are still aching, I feel like I've been battered on all sides.
Then I now come back.
You now come back. I feel like so it is communication. If a woman is running away, she's not getting pleasure. So you mentioned the parts, and I'll revert back to that part. Point is deliver. Don't deliver the way you think she wants it. Don't deliver by saying, okay, if I grab her hand, if I hold her tight. Now there are some times I carry her, I assault her.
Sorry.
Don't assume that the receiver of a gift, like you mentioned, you were giving me Ankara when I didn't want Ankara. All I wanted was quality time. So you can't, and it goes into sex too. Sometimes we isolate the sex part. So if your woman is running, forget it. You are not delivering. You might be you might be surprised that when you think you are giving her and giving her pleasure is what's giving her pain. So maybe she wants it very soft. Because even
and she's not able to say that.
Embarrassing to say touch me there.
Guy, you are not touching me.
Sometimes so we've learned to act. So I found women who even act. They will shout, they will yelp. So that at least if you get what you want, get off me.
Oh my God.
Get off me. So if she's running,
are we hearing
natural human instinct responds to pleasure. That's why some of us overeat. Because we eat again, we keep eating.
And we take chocolate, we take.
So if she's running, is not sweet. Now to go and relearn it, don't go and watch pornography. And go and watch, because all those one is, and that's what has affected us. We've seen too many things. We have assumptions in our head, images of how it should be done. We are coming, we've mastered it, we know how to give it to her. Sure, all those people are acting. Real life situations, a woman's, the private parts, the clitoris, so sensitive that if you overtouch it, it will become I was looking for the it will become you will bruise it. That clitoris is a powerhouse. It's where a woman gets the most pleasure. It's not even from the insertion. It's the clitoris. Now we've gone into sex class. It's the clitoris. Now that clitoris, you over rub it, you will